At the Awakened Specialization High School, some bullies beat Ji-young with their abilities. But every time, Ji-young heals himself because he has the ability of regeneration. It is supposed to be an S-rank ability. But for Ji-young, it is like hell, because when he regenerates it gives him too much pain to bear. While the bullies laugh at him, seeing him in pain, he cannot tell anyone about it because there is no proof left due to his regeneration ability. Teachers and authorities also cannot do anything because of the special treatment the bullies get from the government. The reason Ji-young endures all this is because of his mother. His father passed away when he was just 5 years old. So he decides to endure all this bullying until he gets through school. He hopes to become a C-rank hunter. Ji-young wants to become a hunter so he can earn money and his family can live somewhere better. One day, John is informed that his mom is in the ICU. The authorities declare that his mom got into an accident, but in reality, the bullies led by Goku, who has a crystal ability along with his sidekicks Thor and Sandman, went to John's mom's restaurant. There, Goku asked John's mom to go out with him and show it off that he is awakened and can create crystals. But when John's mom refused and accidentally dropped his phone on the floor, she immediately apologized. Goku instantly stabbed her with his ability. John knows this was not an accident or a rage of the ability user. They intentionally went to his mom's restaurant. On the same day, Jiang had gone out to buy a cake for his mom because it was her birthday. But what he found out made him go berserk and start harming himself. However, his body again regenerated, which gave him even more pain. Meanwhile, the bullies were out in the mountains, laughing and making fun of what they had done. They knew they were young enough to be protected by the law and were also awakened. Just then, Jiang arrives in a rage and asks them why they did it. The bullies mock him, saying they knew it was his mom because she looked too young. This angers him even more, and he attacks them. The crystal ability user puts a crystal spear through his chest. Ji-young removes the spear, and his body regenerates, causing him unbearable pain. Yet he rushes at the bully again. This time, the bully stabs him with multiple spears, but Ji-young still tries to reach him despite being in excruciating pain. The crystal ability user tells his friend, who has a lightning ability, to strike Ji-young with thunder. The lightning attack causes Ji-young to collapse. Just as the bullies are about to leave, Ji-young grabs the crystal user's foot and asks where he thinks he's going. This enrages the bully, who then starts punching Jiang repeatedly. But Jiang keeps resisting, enduring all the pain just to get his revenge. Frustrating, the crystal user asks his third friend, the sand ability user, to step in. The Sandman first creates a hardened shell around Jiang using the crystal user's ability to form a ball. Then, using his sand ability, he buries Jiang deep underground, leaving him trapped. Inside the crystal ball, Jiang tries punching it to break free, but doesn't budge. Soon, it becomes hard to breathe as there is nowhere inside. Jiang loses consciousness, but his regeneration ability forcibly wakes him up, causing immense pain each time. Feeling powerless, he remembers his mother in her final moments, helpless, and unable to fight back against the ability user. Fueled by this memory, Ji-young starts punching the crystal ball again, determined to escape no matter how much effort or time it takes. 5 years later, those three ability users are being interviewed on TV. As awakened individuals, they are now famous. During the interview, the anchor asked them about rumors that 5 years ago, they nearly killed a civilian because one of them lost control of their powers. The crystal user starts crying and tells the audience that the civilian was the mother of a close friend. He admits he couldn't control his power back then and apologizes for his actions. He also says that after that day, he hasn't been able to find his friend and wants to apologize to him in person. Suddenly, the main door of the auditorium flies off its hinges and lands toward him. However, the crystal user stops it by hardening his arms with his ability. The audience panics and runs out of the auditorium. Then, a man walks in through the main door. In the blink of an eye, a punch lands squarely on the crystal user's face, sending him flying across the room. A man wearing a suit of bones stands in front of them and tells them that he finally got out. Jiang reveals that in the diamond prison, he had spent years punching the crystal, not knowing how much time had passed. He almost died countless times due to lack of air, food, and water, but his regeneration ability kept him alive, though the process caused him unbearable pain each time. Each time Jong's body regenerated, the injured part became stronger than before. Over time, his exoskeleton began to visibly develop. For 5 years, Jong endured the agony, his body regenerating and growing stronger with every injury. He never gave up and kept punching the crystal until he finally broke free. However, a lot has changed in these 5 years. Jong has completely destroyed his body for the past 5 years and regenerated into a demon with an exoskeleton. Back in the present, Crystal's sidekicks, Thor and Salmon, couldn't process what they just witnessed and who this person was standing before them. The person looks more like a monster than a human, with his entire body covered with an exoskeleton. Jong recalls what the bullies told him 5 years ago and tried to avenge his mother. They told him that he could try expiring them if he planned to escape from his prison. As for the bullies, they couldn't remember their interaction with Jong. They look at each other, confused, when Crystal gets up from behind and orders them to finish the monster. So Thor calls a flash of lightning to strike Jong, only to find out that his attack had no effect at all. Jong easily takes the hit and rushes at Thor with a blade coming out of his forearm, which cuts off Thor's neck. Crystal and Salmon are horrified as they see their friend die right in front of them. After a while, Salmon finally reacts and uses his power to attack Jong. He traps him inside a ball of dirt, but Jong destroys it without any trouble. The prison breaks into 1,000 pieces, and Jong grabs Salmon by the jaw while chewing his gum. Salmon is shocked as Jong pulls off his jaw, making him bleed a lot. Salmon falls to the ground in pain and shock. Jong then uses his blade to put an end to Salmon's suffering. Crystal is now standing behind Jong, ready to fight him. Jong turns around to face him, only to get punched in the face by Crystal's diamond fists. But this time, Jong has a super strong exoskeleton covering his face, which cracks Crystal's diamond fists. Crystal tries to attack Jong with huge spears that are big enough to surround the entire building. Just like in the past, Crystal once again lowers his finger and pins Jong down with those countless spears. Crystal stares at Jong's dead body, but it starts shaking as Jong tries to stand up again, leaving Crystal terrified. Jong is now completely covered in blood, looking scarier than ever as he stares at Crystal. Crystal realizes he's in big trouble, so he covers his entire body with diamond armor and uses his heavy diamond fists like sledgehammers to attack Jong with every hit. Both Crystal's diamond fists and Jong's bones crack, and blood splashes everywhere. Crystal punches Jong with a series of hits and finishes with a powerful blow to his head. Just like in their teenage years, Jong grabs Crystal's fists with his mouth. But this time, instead of breaking his own teeth, Jong shatters Crystal's arm, leaving him in shock, knowing Jong is on a whole different level. Jong bites down Crystal's arm and stabs his skeletal sword through Crystal's chest. Crystal is frozen in pain as Jong continues biting through his fist. Crystal tries to escape in desperation but ends up losing his arm. He summons a large diamond stalagmite to defend himself, but it doesn't work because Jong has a tight grip on his arm. Crystal tries to walk away but gets pierced by his own diamond spear, which Jong throws at him. Jong walks toward him in a threatening way while Crystal screams for him to stop. But Jong only has revenge in his mind and ignores Crystal's pleas. He stabs Crystal with his own diamond spikes, leaving him weak and helpless. Crystal, barely able to speak, asks the monster in front of him who he is. Jong removes the skull mask on his face. Crystal suddenly remembers that this is the same boy they used to call Worm and Bully when they were teenagers. He's sure it's Worm. Geometry ignores the insult and hits Crystal one more time. Finally, he grabs him by the throat and drives his skeletal sword through Crystal's mouth and out the back of his head. Jong watches as Crystal's life slowly comes to an end before his very eyes. After taking his revenge, Ji-young's anger finally calms down, and he looks around at his surroundings with 3 dead bodies lying in pools of blood. The entire auditorium is destroyed, and Ji-young is the only one still alive. The only thing moving is his reflection in the pool of blood. Just then, a gray cloud covers the building, and it starts to rain. Ji-gong falls to his knees, feeling the water flowing over him. He lets out a loud scream after 5 years of endless suffering and pain. He has no idea what he will do next. After some time, Jong finds himself in a hospital with a warm blanket wrapped around him. He is staring at the person lying on the hospital bed, unable to believe that his mom is still alive. Meanwhile, under a bright blue sky, a portal to another world opens in a forest. Inside the portal is a dark green cave where a group of hunters is finishing their monster hunt. The four men praise the girl for doing so well on her first time going that deep through the portal. The girl thanks them for supporting her but becomes terrified when she notices the same four men now standing around her, with creepy eagle looks in their eyes. The men grin and say they are even more thankful and remind her that no one outside knows what happens inside the portal. The girl is frozen in fear, as one of the muscular men grabs her hands and touches her face. He tells her they will need a month to leave this place and shares how excited he is to spend that time with her. Just as the muscular man leans in to lick her face, his head is suddenly chopped off and falls to the ground. The others are shocked by the sudden attack and begin looking around to see who did it. The girl stands frozen, unable to believe her eyes, as her savior turns out to be a humanoid creature covered in a hard exoskeleton. The three male hunters, being skilled fighters, quickly react. One shoots fireballs, another creates a spear made of darkness, and the third, a samurai, holds his sword ready for a fight. Their fire and darkness attacks hit Jong, but they barely leave a scratch on his exoskeleton. The samurai thrusts his sword into Jong's chest, but the blade snaps in half. Jong quickly responds by killing the samurai. The two remaining hunters are terrified by his power and the fact that such a strong monster exists inside the portal. Without wasting any time, Jong easily cuts off the heads of the last two hunters, leaving only the girl. She shakes with fear, crying, but the monster just stares at her. Trying to calm herself, she wipes her tears and thanks him for saving her. However, before she can finish, Ji-young strikes again, cutting off her head. Why would he do such a thing? To understand, subscribe to the channel now. Drop a comment on when you want for the next part, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an exciting update. Let's keep the adventure going.